My heart is genuinely so fulfilled right now because of last night's midnight release party.
So just the general difference between ether and root is the origin. And Cameron, we hear a lot, obviously, mostly in Legendborn at first, but definitely comes up a lot in Bloodborne as well. There's a massive reputation, the more nights that are
Amazing. Okay, so I know I see there's a couple familiar faces here.
Love it.
The vibe is a good one. It is really good to see y'all, and I love that you're here, and I love how reader organized this has all been. Incredible to watch the energy, but at the same time, I've been very lucky to be able to watch the Brie Hive move for 4+ years now, so I'm not at all surprised that y'all made something happen. The very first moment that I thought about writing anything in this world was really the origin of Brie. It was like Brie, I've told the story, it's in the author's note. Brie and I have a similar origin of grief, and when I lost my own mother, I had this moment of thinking about there being a girl who could go on a quest to do the thing that we as human beings are not able to do, which is go on a quest to find out why.
The fact that y'all are all getting free audiobooks of Oathbound is the second. And then the third one is that all of our copies of Oathbound are signed. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't know anyone that was going to be there aside from my mutual book baddie, Brie. Other than her, I didn't know anyone else who was going to be at this bookstore, and I'm really proud of myself. I am so proud of myself for not letting anxiety or not knowing anyone or being just even a little bit afraid stop me from showing up to the midnight release of Oathbound by Tracy Dion. Tracy called in for like 10 minutes to chat with us, and that was so iconic. It was fun watching her story throughout the night because she was also posting other bookstores who were doing midnight releases. And I, of course, took home a copy of Oathbound, but not just any copy. This copy is signed. And if you watch any of my reading vlogs, you know I love a signed book. I also now officially own Oathbound in all of the formats because this is the hardcover. I pre-ordered the ebook and I was given the free audiobook at the midnight release party as well. And you know I am such a fangirl, so while I was there, I of course took a little peeky peek at the merch table and got 3 Legendborn Cycle stickers, Nick, Sel, and Brie. And just look at Brie's sticker. It's just so perfect. I love book merch, and I love that we are starting to expand book merch because I just need another reason to justify me buying it. And with that, let me officially welcome you to this productive reading vlog. What is a productive reading vlog? Let me start by telling you that I have a reading goal of 50 books for the year 2025, which means I need to read about an average of 1 book a week. And this is me sharing with you how I plan to do so, how I squeeze in reading to what I already consider a pretty busy schedule. Because I think a lot of people are turned off from reading because they think it takes too long or that they don't have enough time. And you make time for the things you love. I really love reading, so I'm just gonna show you how I make time for it. And maybe inspire you to find little ways that you can make time for it as well. So yes, we are reading Oathbound by Tracy Dion because I can't sit on it for much longer, and I'm terrified of scrolling on social media and seeing a spoiler because this book, I just have so much faith in this book. It's so good. This series is so good, full of black girl magic. Oh yeah, let me just give you the rundown if you've never heard of the Legendborn cycle. First of all, if you've never heard of the Legendborn cycle, I'm so happy to introduce you. And if you're afraid of spoilers, no worries, no fear. Here, I keep these vlogs very spoiler-free because I want you to read the books and enjoy them and have your own experience with them, but still share just a little bit of mine. The Legendborn cycle obviously starts with Legendborn Book 1, in which we meet Brie. Her mother recently passed away, and we meet her soon after that as she is trying to deal with the grief. And part of that is her going to this early college program where she, as a 16-year-old girl, gets to go to college early, take some classes, live on campus. And once she is on campus, she decides to go on a quest to figure out everything behind the death of her mother, why it happened, who did it, and boy, does she come across some answers. Because on her very first night on campus, she witnesses a magical attack. That's how the back of the book puts it, a magical attack. And it basically opens her eyes to a world of magic, to a realm in which she's never heard of before. And uncovering that in this book is it's just written so well. And the reread is even better. Okay. By witnessing this attack, she is introduced to the Legendborn, a secret society on the campus who hunt these magical creatures. And once her eyes are open to the magic, she remembers that this is actually not the first time she's seen magic. She has seen magic the night that her mother died. Hence her quest to figure out what the heck happened, who did it, and why. And the Legendborn Society eventually reveals themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming. Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. It is such a good balance of everything we love in a fantasy novel, and I will sing its praises forever, probably. Forever. We also found out last night that there's going to be 4 books. But before we get to 4, we gotta talk about 3. According to the devices, it should take me 22 hours, I think almost exactly, to read Oathbound. So we'll have to squeeze in 22 hours of reading this week. Yesterday was Monday, which was the book release at midnight, so technically it came out today, Tuesday, but I got it right at midnight. So I did read and I am 1 hour in already. We're already winning. Today is Tuesday. We'll see how many hours we can read, and I'm hoping to have this book done by Friday. And we will be celebrating official release day by taking ourselves on a little reading day. I thought a walk around the park, downtown, maybe get a coffee, while listening to the audiobook, of course. I'm actually gonna leave one out so I can just hear the nature and like everything around me as well. I feel like that's kind of relaxing. My fit is kind of Legendborn inspired with the gray and the shiny silver, you know, chainmail armor. If you read it, you get it. If not, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I did spoil myself a little bit, but it's Brie Day, so I think that's okay. I got an iced vanilla latte. Let's put a straw in that because I could use some caffeine. Perfect. And I got a couple snacks. Of course, I'm a snack girl, so you already know. I'm trying to catch my favorite report flies away. It's so windy, and it's just the best weather right now in Florida. I feel like it's normally either so hot you don't want to be outside or a random couple of weeks of freezing cold, but perfect weather today. I have to think it's because of Tracy Dion. So this is kind of like my lunch. I got a beef empanada. Oh my gosh. I love empanadas so much. I'm amazing with that. And when you get savory, you also need to get sweet, so I got an apple turnover. Literally, so many of my favorite things are happening right now. Snacks, book. I think I'm gonna sit here and edit my like Bookstagram carousel for release day because I want to be more active over there, and I will be because something really exciting and really bookish is on the way. I've been working on it, and I can't wait to share. So I'm gonna press play, eat, and work, and all the things. I have to pause. I'm on I just finished chapter 4, if you are also reading along or you're just a really big fan of the Legendborn cycle. This is why I think I really love it. It is so, I'm gonna say visceral. When I'm reading her writing, I feel like I am wielding the magic. I feel like it's me. Like, I know exactly what it feels like. I know what I'm looking for. I know how to control it or not control it. I know how it feels to use magic against others, against creatures. Like, it's so addicting. It's so immersive. And honestly, just a masterclass. The more that I am listening to this book, the more I'm just like, Tracy, the author that you are. Like, oh my gosh, I love this book already. I'm scared though. I'm honestly very scared because it is the third book, and the stakes are very high, very high. So, will I cry in this vlog? Keep watching to find out. Reading update. I finished Oathbound completely. The Legendborn cycle is one of my favorite series I have ever read, and book 3 really, really solidified that. So, of course, I ate up the new release like candy. And the reason why there weren't any reading updates throughout the reading of the book, I don't want to spoil this for anyone. If anything, I want to encourage somebody to read this series. It's so good. I will be shocked if you regret it. But 2, I got sick last week. You can probably still hear it, maybe see it in my face. I don't know. Like, terribly, bedriddenly sick. It was great on one hand because I didn't have any energy to get up. So I just sat there and listened to audiobooks in the hours that I was awake and my body wasn't trying to fight off whatever virus, whatever was happening on the inside. So I did finish Oathbound. Let me give you my thoughts. I'm just gonna put some makeup on while I give you my thoughts because I'm actually headed to Disney Springs today. Okay, so without spoilers, the things that I loved about Oathbound. Okay, first and foremost, the biggest difference between this book and the other 2 is that this one has multiple POVs, and it made me realize that maybe one of my book biases is multiple POVs, like not reading those, because this year, the only other book I've read so far with multiple POVs, like more than 2, is The Davenports. And I did really, really love The Davenports because it followed like 4 sisters all on romantic journeys. Oathbound follows a handful of characters. I don't want to spoil it. So Oathbound follows a handful of characters that we've met throughout the series and gives their POVs for the first time. Oh my gosh. This is about to be me just singing the praises of Tracy Dion, because having only heard Bree, the main character's voice from her up until this point, it's incredible that like I can hear those other characters so clearly and so immediately, and one of them is one of my favorite characters, so just to hear more of him is like, it's really satisfying me inside. So yes, multiple POVs is great, but they were done so well. I'm gonna compare it to Onyx Storm for just a second. I feel like these two are completely different series, but in this case, I think it's a little bit helpful if you're familiar with Onyx Storm to bring into this conversation. Slight spoiler, not really, but Onyx Storm also introduces multiple POVs at a certain point in that book. And sorry, I'm getting reacquainted with my body functioning like a normal human being. Onyx Storm also introduces multiple POVs at one point, but I hated the way that it did it, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And it did include characters that I had liked throughout the series, but it just did not feel like it served the story to me. The way that Tracy uses multiple POVs in Oathbound really feels like, it almost feels like I'm reading a completely different story, but that's just because the evolution of the plot has gone so far from the original, and it's so good. Like, it's getting better. I feel like if that hasn't convinced you to pick up the Legendborn series, I don't know what else I can possibly say. And we learned that the series is going to be 4 books, not 3, which is so incredible because there's no way this could have ended at Oathbound and anybody would have been satisfied. I'm like salivating at the mouth at the thought of book 4 because I just know. I just have full faith in Tracy to deliver us something so good. So read Legendborn Cycle series. You won't regret it. I feel like I kind of still look a little bit sick in the eyes, and I'm not sick. I finally can function, but it's just like the residual sickness. You know, you still kind of have like a sore throat and maybe you're a little, I'm not coughy, but one more sickly reading update and then we can continue to talk about productive reading. I was so sick, in fact, that I did not just read Oathbound. I read another book, start to finish, as an audiobook, of course, called A Touch of Darkness. I have the Fairy Loot version. Hold on. We're at my bookshelves. These are my Fairy Loot. Is it this one? No. It's like a purple book. I thought it was this, but this is the Crimson Moth. I know that I have... Did I take it out because I wanted to read it? Oh, here we go. I've got a couple of Fairy Loot up here. This is it. Yes. The Darkness Within Us, Tricia Levenseller. Oh, so pretty. I will never regret my Fairy Loot subscription. This is the book that I also listened to while being sick, and this was a very surprising read. I'm trying to do what no reader has done before and actually read books off their TBR. I remember being really excited to hear the plot of this when I unboxed it. Wow, looking at the art after reading this too, this is just not what I had imagined. It's always so interesting. Let me know, leave a comment. Are you guys into the fan art? Like, do you look up fan art of books before or while you're reading them? I don't do that. I like to leave it all in here and see what I come up with. But so seeing this after what I had envisioned is kind of funny. Like, it does fit, but also I don't think I imagined them like this at all. I'm gonna read this little flappity flap to you really quickly so you can understand the plot and I don't spoil anything. Chrysantha Stathos has won. By hiding her intelligence and ambition behind the mask of a beautiful airheaded girl, she has become a wealthy duchess. And once her elderly husband dies, she will have all the freedom and money she's ever wanted. Or so she thought. A man claiming to be her husband's estranged grandson has turned up to steal her inheritance. And to make matters worse, her little sister, Alessandra, is about to become queen. So Chrysantha resolves to upstage Alessandra at her own wedding. And as for this grandson, he may be extremely handsome and mysterious, but he has to go. This, I do not think, was a fair representation of what this book actually is. I get that they are trying to get us to read these stories by giving us the mini synopsis, summary things, and they kind of got to tell you what the book's about without saying too much. That did not say enough to me. I was imagining a very different story based solely off of those words, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. In the end, it felt like a amusing surprise. Like, I wasn't mad at what I had actually read, but it doesn't make me feel, it feels a little unfair. I feel like people will read that decide whether or not to read the book. And some people may miss out on a book that they genuinely would have enjoyed, and some people are going to be really disappointed because that isn't really what we're reading about. It is, but it's missing some of the color, some of the flavor. We've got salt and pepper, and it's got way more than just salt and pepper. And I feel like you can offer some of that up without spoiling the entire book. To me, the story that synopsis described was a bit whimsical, some conflict, an enemies to lovers kind of situation. And yes, on the enemies to lovers romance. But the tone of this book overall was villainous. In a way. Maybe I looked past the title too quickly, The Darkness Within Us, but when it comes to fantasy books, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really pay attention to titles of things because they never really click until you know what you're talking about. I guess the darkness is a hint towards the villainous seasoning that I'm referring to right now, but it just, I don't know, I just feel like I read something different than I was expecting to, which was fine. I ended up rating The Darkness Within Us 3 stars. Overall, the story was great. It was whimsical. It is a romance. The main character is a little bit unlikable, but I think that she's written that way. She's kind of a villain, like straight up kind of a villain. And I'm the type of girl, I need the villains to have good reason to be villains. And this main character has a good reason, being a woman in a society that hates women, essentially. Very valid reason to be a villain. But I also kind of feel like her core is villainous. Like, I don't think I think she kind of came out the womb a villain a little bit. And I think that's my book bias. I think that I like fun, whimsical, lighthearted characters a little bit more. So naturally, I'm like, oh, villain story. But it was good. I really wasn't mad about it. I want this year to be about me broadening my book tastes and challenging those book biases. And I'm actually kind of glad that this book wasn't what I expected it to be. So if you're looking for a darker toned romance, some magic, sisterly connection and disconnection, that whole Regency era, look into The Darkness Within Us. Considering how sick I was last week, I'm going to continue this productive reading vlog into this week so I can show you how I make time for more physical reading, because audiobooks are truly the hack. I very much recommend them if you find yourself struggling to make time to read books. But if you are strictly against it, to each their own. If you're strictly against audiobooks for whatever reason, I want to sprinkle some inspiration your way about how you can physically read books more as well.
I kinda adore you, but don't get too proud. You're like my favorite snack, I won't say it out loud. I won't say you're perfect, we all know you're not. But hey, you're the
So, are the magic up?
They winning.
They're winning. What's the score?
108 to 103. 7 seconds left.
Ooh!
Ka-ching. Magic win at Papa John's.
50% off pizza!
Everything.
Orlando Magic.
Play the song.
are back from Disney Springs. We can't let the night end without picking our next read, so I thought we would do one of my favorite pastimes, scrolling through my Kindle Unlimited to see what to read next. I'm thinking another fantasy, of course. We did our little romance palette cleanser. That's typically what it ends up being for me. And now I want to get back into somebody's world. And bonus points if I already own the physical book and haven't read it yet. Oh, there's a lot. Okay, I actually have saved, I forgot I added so many of these to my library already. Babel Arkwong. That's a really good contender, but I almost want to just devour all of her books, like, at once. Dedicate however many weeks it takes to just reading her whole... What's the equivalent of a discography for authors? I don't know, but whatever that is, just dedicating the weeks to that sounds so fun because I've just heard nothing but great things about this author, and I know that she's got another book coming out really soon, I think. Catabasis? Catabasis? Ooh. Potions, Poisons, and Policies by Courtney Thorne. I'm pretty sure this one was like an academia, magical academia setting, which is always fun. Children of Blood and Bone. I actually really need to read this series because I am so excited to see it become a movie. The book to movie adaptation never ever gets old, and I know I'm so late to this series already, but I own both the first and second book in paperback already. That's a high contender. That's a high contender. So it's 537 pages. That is a long book. I think I want something just a little bit shorter, maybe like 300 pages so that I can devour it rather quickly and feel satisfied. I think what I'm craving right now is a feeling of satisfaction from finishing another book. And maybe it's because I've been laying in my bed sick for so long that I've kind of warped my mind into thinking that I read quickly. So rather than disappoint myself, let's set ourselves up for success and try to find a bit of a shorter book, but Children of Blood and Bone, I'm coming for you very soon. Heartless Hunter, I think, is one of those popular books. I think it's a duology. The description says, on the night Rune's life changed forever, blood ran in the streets. Now in the aftermath of a devastating revolution, witches have been diminished from powerful rulers to outcasts, ruthlessly hunted due to their waning magic, and Rune must hide out what she is. Right. Okay, so our main character is a witch, and I think she falls in love, with a witch hunter, or she finds herself in a company with a witch hunter. Okay, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't know, it's not scratching that itch automatically. So let's see what else we can read. The Poppy War, also by R.F. Kuang. I will be getting into her books. I just love to make things a bigger deal than they truly are, so I want to just dedicate that time, and I'm not ready to jump into it yet. I think I found my read. I cannot believe this is on Kindle Unlimited. If you've been subscribed to my channel and you've been watching my reading vlogs, you would have known that last year I read a book called The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was so cute and I liked it so much more than I thought I would. That book is about the Prince of Christmas being engaged to the Princess of Easter, but he finds himself in a competition for her hand with the Prince of Halloween, but they may have a little something going on, and I really loved that world, and I was so excited to know that there was a second book coming about the Prince of Christmas's little brother, and that book is out, and it is called Go Luck Yourself, because I think it's about the little brother and the Prince of St. Patrick's Day, because in this realm, all the holidays have like royal families, and it's on Kindle Unlimited, which is crazy because I think this book was published on March 11th. Like it is literally just published and already on Kindle Unlimited, 314 pages. Yeah. This also makes me excited to read because one of the things that I am working on within my own reading journey this year is getting more familiar with authors. So I am excited to read a second book by the same author, not just because it's in the same realm with characters I already know and love, but maybe I'll have a better opinion on this author's writing style after reading another book by them. I want to be an informed reader. I want to feel like I know what I'm talking about. Nice and easy. Here we go. One way that I squeeze in reading in my everyday, almost everyday practice is by reading myself to sleep at night. I know that this e-reader is still a screen, but it's not my phone and I won't be distracted by social media or text messages or anything like that. And I can put my phone down, pick up my e-reader, know that it's just gonna be a book, and I sit here and I'll read till I literally fall asleep. And I'll be reading books. That's how I make time for reading books. I don't really know. I would say maybe I read for half an hour to an hour before actually falling asleep. That's a half an hour to an hour more of reading than you thought you had. So I'm just saying, it's a good place to start. So I'm gonna start this tonight and I will check in with you tomorrow morning. Before we get into today's book chat, I need to show you my cute bookish bow. I bought it at the New Romantics here in Orlando, but they're literally bookish bows from blissfullybookish.com. I got this one that has dragons on it because, as you know, I am a fantasy girly. Although maybe you wouldn't know based on this vlog because 2 out of the 3 books we've read so far are romances. But even that being true, they have like fantastical elements. So last I checked in, we picked Go Luck Yourself by Sarah Rosh to read, and I picked it immediately without even reading too much of the synopsis because I loved the first book in this series, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and this follows the brother of the main character who is the second prince of Christmas, and it's so good. It's so good. Okay, I want to save my final thoughts for when I finish the book, which according to my Kindle is in about an hour, but I didn't want to end this productive reading vlog without showing you like how you can make time to read physically on your Kindle, because let's be real, it's difficult. Even finding the time for me to do this right now was a little bit difficult, if I'm being honest with you. By the way, if there's like weird scratchy noises, Zoe is on the other side of my door and she can't be more than 5 feet away from me without freaking out. No concern, just a Chihuahua with attachment issues. I think I explained this a little bit earlier, but most of the time that I am reading my physical book, it is at night because I read myself to sleep every night, and that is how I squeeze in the bulk of reading. But one of my personal goals this year was to read 50 books, and in order to do that, I have to read about an average of 1 book a week, and to do that, I have to make time for reading. So my whole point in making and sharing this vlog is to hopefully inspire you to make the time to read if that's what you want to do. Or, I mean, you can be here for the book reviews. I love that you're here either way. I've been trying to find like an hour or so to read physically during the daytime, and it has taken me a while, which is why you haven't seen it until the end of this vlog. I really rely on audiobooks for daytime so that I can get multiple things done in a day. But I do love the act of physical reading. So this is me showing you how I'm committing to it by finally finding an hour where it's not too hot outside. It's still good weather here in Florida. Currently 80 degrees here, so great weather. I can wear pants still since I'm in the shade, which is nice and doesn't happen often. And just sink myself into the world for an hour. I deserve that. That's why we love reading. Escapism, right? Like, I need time to escape. And I have a random question before I start reading. Do you like to read in silence, or are you playing music? Like, what's your dream ambiance when you're reading? Because I love the idea of having a reading playlist and like tuning it to the books that you read. Like maybe if it's a romance book, it's more like love songs or sweet melodies. And if it's a fantasy book, it's like dun, 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 dun. Apparently Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like The Ride of the Valkyries, you know, something like that. Let me know. I love the idea of that, but the reality is I will not be able to focus on the book. I need to be so immersed in my story that I feel like I can hear the sounds of the world that I'm reading. And so I like it to be quiet, but it's fun to romanticize. You tell me. So I'll be back in about an hour with an update on my final thoughts for Go Luck Yourself. I am just updating my Fable since I have finished Go Luck Yourself. And that that is my 13th book out of 50 for the year. Wow, that's crazy. That's so much more than I thought it was gonna be already, but I'm on track to read 50 books this year. Anyways, let me give you my thoughts really quickly before we go. Plot-wise, I loved this book for the same reasons that I loved the first book. The world is really interesting to me. Following the royals of holidays is such a fun concept. I've not read anything like that. The main character, Chris, is so lovable because he's the second Prince of Christmas. We were introduced to him in the first book through his relationship with his brother, Cole. One thing that makes a major difference between this book and the first one was the first one was really, really focused on the romance. The romance is happening in this book, and that is like the main plot line, but honestly, it's only the main plotline by like 51%, because the other 49% of this book is really about Chris dealing with trauma. Bit of a trigger warning, this has a lot to do with parental and like familial trauma and abuse, not physical, but emotional. So if you need to know more about that before diving into this book, I highly suggest that you look that up so that you know what you're reading. I took notes, of course. So I wrote, there's a healing moment for Chris, and the way it's written is so helpful. The way the words are put together could really help someone by giving them the words they've been looking for or showing them how they want to be helped, and I think that's a beautiful thing about books, for sure. I think one of the best things about books is they kind of give you the words when you don't have them, or they show you a situation that you either want or don't want to be in. They can enlighten you in that way, and this book is definitely one of those, which is refreshing, because I don't think I've read a book like that this year that has made me be like, oh wow, like I could apply some of this to my personal life or people that I know, just like using this information to learn about people and the way that people can react to traumas and how that really affects them and how they have to heal through it, because we really see Chris do all of those things, like coming to terms with the trauma that he's faced, like acknowledging it, and then doing something about it, the struggle that comes with doing something about it, and the effects and how it affects everyone in his life and himself and the way that he thinks about himself. And that's just so, it's just so refreshing and just the best part about books, honestly. Overall, I'm going to be giving not The Nightmare Before Christmas, Go Luck Yourself, a 4-star rating. I think that's a perfect rating of the book. It is a little bit spicy, disclaimer. But if any of this sounds of interest to you, definitely add it to your TBR. I don't think you're gonna be mad. And with our final thoughts coming to a close, as is this productive reading vlog, definitely subscribe. I will be doing more of these throughout the year, both to help myself reach my reading goal and to help inspire you and maybe give you some ideas as to how you can make reading more fun, make more time for it, and squeeze in those little hours of stories that we love so much. So that's all for now, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.